As our flight descended in the Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi, Kenya, I leaned over to my wife and I said, well, I sure hope someone's there to meet us. Turns out we'd made all the arrangements for this trip online or via email, and it struck me as the plane started descending that the whole thing could have been a complete hoax. She gave me that look, and because I knew that she and I had both read that the Kenyatta airport is an absolute mob scene, especially for a white family with 4 blonde-headed children. Now, this is the point where I usually get the, you took your kids where look. So let me explain that real quick. My wife and I were talking about vacation plans. We were looking at the calendar and thinking about what we wanted to do. We talked about camping, maybe going to the beach or something fun like Disney. We wanted our summer vacation to be memorable. And as we talked about it, memorable soon turned into meaningful. And so we started looking for international volunteer opportunities. We found a small volunteer organization called IVHQ. And they had 2 characteristics that really resonated with us. First, we wanted to take our whole family. And this organization would allow, they didn't have a minimum age limit for young kids who wanted to come, as long as their parents were there with them. And second of all, and probably even more impressive, is that they had the volunteers live with the people that they were serving, as opposed to putting them up in some nice hotel nearby. And we thought that those 2 characteristics really resonated with us. We wanted to get the full experience. Now, back at the airport, luckily, as we stepped out of customs, we saw a kind man standing there with a smile and a small piece of paper that said Sharp Family. Believe me, that was a very welcome sight. So we followed George to his van, stuffed all our suitcases in the back of his van, and we were headed off to the volunteer orientation. Now, the orientation was brief and maybe a little scary, actually. They primarily told us about the health and safety risks of being a foreigner in a highly impoverished country. And then we were off to our assignment. The Madison House Orphanage is a simple farmhouse located about 45-minute drive outside of Nairobi. It is home to 32 beautiful orphan children. And it is run by an amazing woman named Teresa, who does all the cooking, cleaning, laundry, parenting for 32 kids. The farmhouse, as you can tell, has no running water and no major appliances of any kind. So no dishwasher, no stove, no oven, no washer, no dryer, and no vehicle, by the way, for 32 kids. This is how we were drying the laundry. Now, each day would start actually quite early. We were there for 3 weeks, and each day was pretty much the same. It would start early. We'd wake up and start preparing the fire to cook the porridge for breakfast. Each kid, including us, we'd get about a half cup of uji, or porridge, for breakfast. And then we'd help the kids get up and get off to school. Some of us would walk the younger kids to school, not actually because of safety issues, but just because younger kids get a little distracted on their way. And so we would tend to walk them to school. Once the kids were up and off to school, we would start helping with the chores. We would either start doing the dishes, mopping the floors, helping with the laundry. And my boys and I, we chopped a lot of firewood. As you can imagine, every meal is cooked with fire, and so there was a lot of firewood being chopped. Sounds like a dream vacation, doesn't it? Now, each day around lunchtime, once the lunch was prepared, we would put it in this large bucket, and we would take it to the kids at their school, which was about a 2-mile walk away from the orphanage. We would walk it there, and the first day that we got there, we stepped out into the commons area of the kids' school, and kids started absolutely pouring out of their classrooms and surrounding us, wanting to say hello, wanting to greet us, shake our hands. One of the teachers eventually approached my wife, actually, and said, Your kids are the first white children these kids have ever seen, except in magazines or books. It was great to meet them. So the question is, why? We could have been sitting on a beach somewhere, relaxing, having nice meals. Instead, we were living in a rundown farmhouse in the middle of Africa, eating porridge for breakfast and boiled beans for lunch and doing hard manual labor. Quite a trade-off. One reason we went to Africa was to actually see the animals. We wanted to experience Africa, but more than that, we wanted to meet the people and to actually experience the poverty. We wanted to show our kids what life was like without a high-definition TV and iPods and iPhones, without a Dunkin' Donuts or a Subway, without the toys and conveniences that we all seem unable to live without. We wanted to show them what life was like, but more importantly, we wanted to teach them about service and about giving back. And I will tell you this, while we went to give and to try to make the world a better place, I can assure you that we were the true benefactors. We learned from these kids who had absolutely nothing what it meant to be selfless. When we watched them share without hesitation. They taught us about gratitude when we gave them simple gifts like pencils to see the joy that brought. And my kids learned that they had more in common with the kids in Africa than they had differences. All the kids loved to laugh and to play games. They didn't love to do homework or chores, by the way. That was very consistent. The girls all loved to do each other's hair. I love that picture of Grace up there. She's at the top. The boys all loved to play soccer, climb trees, and wrestle. Kids are kids no matter where they are. And while we tend to look for differences, it seems that my kids tend to look for similarities now that we've been back. We learned one of life's greatest lessons, which is essentially that no one can truly seek to help another without helping themselves. Now, most of us live very comfortable lives. We have everything, most of us in this room live very comfortable lives. We have everything we need and then some. We go on vacations to nice and exciting locations, and that's great. But I would offer up that thrill rides and theme parks are fun but empty. They give temporary pleasure only. To learn one of life's most essential lessons, we can actually take a lesson from a simple utensil. I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you look at your reflection in a spoon, when the inward-facing side is faced towards you, your reflection appears upside down and a little distorted. And if you don't believe me, you should actually try it when you get home. If you flip it around, your image is actually reflected right side up. Perhaps the lesson that we learn from this spoon applies to life as well. When we focus on ourselves and gratifying our own ambitions, our life is upside down and a little distorted. But we can correct that by simply turning our perspective outward. When we focus on the needs of others and put their needs in front of our own, our life becomes right side up and makes sense again. Gandhi said, the key to finding yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I thought that was extraordinarily powerful for me. Now, I don't necessarily think, and I'm not suggesting that each of you should pack your bags and start making your plans to go to Kenya. Although I will tell you this, if you did, I'm sure Teresa would be very grateful and welcome your help. But there are opportunities for us to serve in our local communities, even down the street or around the corner. But let me warn you, the joy you feel when you give that kind of service is powerful, it's wonderful, and it's even addictive. In fact, my kids have told me that they have virtually no desire to go anywhere other than somewhere to serve. And the most amazing thing about it is that the more you give, the more you get in return. My younger son, Jared, and I were sitting next to each other on the plane ride home, on the long plane ride home. And he said to me, he said something pretty profound, although I'm sure he didn't know it at the time. He said, "You know what, Dad? It seems like the world just got a whole lot smaller." And I chuckled and I kind of smiled to myself and I thought, well, at least that's one thing Disney got right. It is a small world after all. I encourage each of you to change your point of view, to change your perspective and to look outward, and to find opportunities to give back and provide service. I promise you that you will be very glad you did. Thank you.